Welcome to OASIS Tokyo. At OASIS Tokyo, we capture Japanese culture and lifestyle through short videos. Starting 2026, we're looking to expand our journey through this podcast. While short videos are great for sort of capturing those moments, we really don't feel like we're able to expand more on the ideas and values of those who we interview. So we would like to start this podcast to dive deeper and learn more about the foreigners we interview who are expanding and building their lifestyle and career in Japan. My name is Eilidh. I'm half Japanese, half Scottish, was born and raised in Scotland, and I moved to Tokyo 2.5 years ago. So I'll be the host for today. And our first guest for this podcast is Moritz.
Hi. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Would love if you could just give us a very simple introduction so we can just get to know a bit more about you before we dive into this podcast today.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having me, right? And congratulations to the first podcast.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So my name is Moritz. I'm German, actually Eurasian, half German, half Malaysian Chinese. I grew up my entire life in Germany and now here with the Mandarin Oriental Tokyo, and happy to be in Tokyo, living for, I think if you put all years together, 5.5 years.
A bit more than me.
A bit more than you, but you have the language capability, so definitely
Great.
for sure an advantage
Well,
on me.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Moritz has actually worked with us at OASIS before, so I understand that you reached out to us previously to join one of the short videos that we do, and I'd love just to hear a bit more about what was the sort of reason behind that.
Happy to share that. Of course, actually what happened was that joining in Mandarin Oriental Tokyo, right, we have beautiful restaurants, and I was like, considering might that be an opportunity, because looking at the OASIS Tokyo videos, right, I saw always like the community being very vivid and also as well entrepreneurial and very diverse, right? And I thought like maybe it's an opportunity for us to collaborate on one of our restaurants. So then I reached out and we have not yet worked on the restaurant, but the connection that I have had with the team, with Rio and also as well with Meito-san and also now Roy and Takaki, right, son, we are very happy now to work together. It was the first interview that I was then asked to do, and now OASIS Tokyo 2.0, huh?
Yes, it's very exciting. So we're very privileged to have you as our first guest here,
Thank
and
you.
thank you very much for hosting us in this lovely venue as well at the Mandarin Hotel. So I'd just like to jump right into the questions that we have for you
Sure.
today. Obviously, with yourself, as you mentioned, with the restaurant, you're working in the hospitality industry.
Correct.
So I'd love if you could maybe just give us a bit more of a background as to why you chose the Japanese hospitality industry, and then specifically, obviously, the Mandarin Oriental Tokyo.
I think, there's several components that you just touched on, right? I think Japan, first to begin with, it's unparalleled when it comes to commitment to craftsmanship and also as well to artistry, precision and humility, right?
Right.
And that sort of is the pride and excellence here in Japan. So for me in hospitality, comparing it to different kind of markets, it is, unique to find in Asia Pacific.
Yeah, of course.
And then on top of it, Mandarin Oriental Tokyo, I'm very blessed, right? It's obviously a globally respected brand, right?
Yeah.
That is at the forefront from luxury hospitality and service provision. And just being here gives me then obviously the opportunity also as well to create with the team together this purposeful service. And
Yeah.
it creates really moments with intention and with discipline. And I think that is just at the heart of hospitality, right? It's not about just delivering service, but at the heart of hospitality. And that's why Japan and also as well Mandarin Oriental Tokyo, I'm very pleased and very happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, another aspect is also as well the professional challenge. I think no other market in Asia Pacific when it comes to hospitality has the unwritten rule of excellence, right? So it is, excellence is a standard by norm in everything that is done. And I think to work in this sort of environment where excellence is expected and the standard details in execution are very important. And I think for luxury service provision, that's why for me Tokyo is the number one market. No offense to all the markets where I've worked, right? Love you guys. But I'm happy to be here in Tokyo, of course, also as well family related with my wife.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I know you mentioned earlier before we sort of started recording today that you've worked in other regions in APAC as well, and you keep finding yourself sort of coming back to Japan.
Correct.
And I was wondering if there's any thing in particular that sort of draws you back each time that you sort of find is like the common thread throughout that journey so far.
Yes, I mean, I think, and that's maybe to give a bit of a background, right? I've experienced Tokyo, Japan in different stages of my career path, right? And so I started the first experience was as a restaurant manager, then as an assistant director, and now coming in back as a director of food and beverage. And I think the joy and pride of this experience was that it's always at a second stage of the same profession. So it was a second time restaurant manager. I was a second time assistant director.
Right.
I was a second time director of food and beverage now, right? And bringing in expertise and unfolding literally the capabilities and also as well the opportunities in Tokyo becomes something very unique. And of course, it is the market. I think when you ask any chef in the world, where could you open up a restaurant? They would say Tokyo, and there's a reason for it, right? Because the craftsmanship, the Japanese produce is of high level, and I think to work together with the team and also as well with this kind of level of produce, outstanding. And that's for me also as well the reason why I think Tokyo is for me the preferred market, and I'm very happy and thrilled to be here.
That's fantastic. And actually, would love to just sort of connect that onto obviously with yourself being from Europe and then working around APAC. And obviously gaining all these other skills, as you mentioned, sort of coming in as a second time for all of these positions. Are there particular skills or things that you've sort of taken or learned through earlier stages of your career in these positions that you've sort of brought with yourself to Japan each time? And what would some examples of those be, would you say?
Okay. To begin with, I'm German. Okay.
Yes.
So structure and operational discipline is probably, it kind of lives in me. So I think that is one, I wouldn't say expertise, but that is one mindset that I brought already directly into Japan and anywhere where I go. So I think structure and operational discipline is a very important component. Then obviously with also having now the second-hand experience, right, as a second timer, it's the creativity and the concept-driven thinking, right? Experience is about storytelling and led gastronomies that are really focusing on that. And I think bringing that mindset with creativity to Japan is literally what makes a difference. When you seek experiences here in Japan, guests think about authenticity, right? And crafted innovation. And that's literally the challenge and the task and the joy at the same time that I have here in Japan. And then at the same time also as well, the other part is the cross-cultural exposure to leadership in Asia Pacific, where you have, I worked in China, I worked in Thailand and also as well Singapore. And having that cross-cultural exposure makes you a bit more aware and a bit more sensitive to the local culture. And I think that's why also as well I love it, because the international experiences shape the listening ability, the adaptability, and also as well the thinking of what you want to achieve with the team together. And I think bringing this with an empowering style of leadership is important. And last but not least is, of course, having always this, think global, act local. That sort of kind of global perspective with local activities and local respect is something that I think is a skill set needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from my also personal experience, sort of growing up in the UK and then coming to Japan, I think that sort of being able to relate to people with different backgrounds and obviously different languages as well has been sort of quite crucial for my professional and also my social life here as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think everyone has different perspectives to how that works.
You kind of get both, right? You get that conservatism, right? Maybe in an Eastern culture, and then that libertarian kind of discussion, democracy, and everything coming from a Western perspective, right? So for you, it's also as well the same part, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that it's a massive part of like my day-to-day here as well. And I think it's a huge part of being able to communicate with people. And I think that, in your personal and your professional life, it's a really important skill that is quite unique and hard to learn. If someone was to give you a textbook, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But yeah, it's really interesting that that's something that you've also experienced, a different background and different career. But just a very common point between us. And actually sort of using that as a segue to something else I would love to ask you about is, obviously these are all positive things we're talking about, but then with those there also comes challenges to how to sort of adapt to new cultures and countries and even like languages and things like that. And I'm sure, as you mentioned, with a very high standard of excellence in the F&B space in Japan and in Tokyo, is there anything in particular that you would sort of say you've had to find like a way to battle through?
I think I was considering, maybe to have one experience to share, right? Okay. So when I first arrived to Japan, very fortunate of myself, right? So I was invited for an interview to come in, right? And I was flown in by ANA. Love you guys, really, really. Food quality outstanding, also as well service quality. And for the first time in my life, I was upgraded. So it seems like the stars aligned there. So that's an interesting one. But I was finding myself sitting next to a Japanese businessman. And that's where the interesting part comes in, because it's not that food and beverage experience as per se, but it is the experience, right, when you have sit it next to the Japanese guest, and when you get these compartmentalized dining trays with all of these food items, right? Me coming from where I come from, right, it looked like a war zone, literally, on that kind of thing, right? It's like torn up, finish it here, finish it there, right? And in the middle of that dining experience, I move to the right, right? I look to my Japanese counterpart on the right, and I see he's folding nicely back the chopsticks, neatly organized, right? That box looks, after finishing, untouched, and there goes me, my war zone on my plate, and I'm like, ooh, a bit of an embarrassment, right? And I think that was the first experience actually from a cultural aspect, right, to the food and beverage scene. So how things are being respected and how things are being returned, deep appreciation and also respect. But when you ask me, right, having worked in Japan and also as well in the setting, I think the depth of preparation in Japan, everything the way it's been prepared or it's been served, there is a thought process behind it, why it has been done. And I think that is so unique, right? It's meticulously planned. Every gesture, every position, every step is intentional. And from a luxury service point of view, of course, this has a big impact. The other part is obviously humility to excellence. And I think this is a learning lesson for everybody. I think when you come to Japan, it's not like an individualistic culture, right? Where it's about me and I do this and so on and so forth. Luxury is understated and it is modestly and quietly expressed. And I think that is a huge difference. And apart from that, from food and beverage, also as well, the seasons. I think there is no other country that has 72 micro seasons when it comes to produce, right? I mean, who does this? The level of detail and precision is again at the forefront of that, right?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the cultural nuances. When it comes to communication, right? You prefer harmony in the whole collective rather than disruption. And I think that also as well supports my leadership, because you need to understand the whole collective in order to move the collective.
Fantastic. Well, we'd love to dive a bit more into that sort of collaboration between the sort of traditional expectations in Japan and currently innovation in the hospitality space as well in the next part of our podcast.